welcome to CSM Mistakes Were Made. I'm Anita. Today I want to talk about some socks that I cranked for my husband out of some KnitPicks yarn. And it's a nice product. I had never seen it before, but I was searching for some colors that would match the jersey that he owns, and I think these colors fit the bill pretty well. So that was posted on Facebook, and I got some questions about how this yarn compares with other KnitPicks products. And I was surprised to learn that the yardage for Stroll, which is one of their products, which I haven't cranked yet, but I have some yarn here. I show the comparison of the yarn I used and how it compares to Felici, which I was also familiar with, and I've cranked socks from that. It's a really nice striped yarn. Here's a little skein of it. How it compares with Stroll. Stroll has a lot of yardage per 100 gram skein, so I was surprised to learn that. And then finally, I like this product from KnitPicks, which is called Hawthorne. And I've bought several hanks of it before. Here's some that I haven't coned up yet, Hawthorne. And it's a beautiful yarn, but you have to be a little careful because you can play yarn chicken on the second sock. And so I've tried to find a contrasting color for the toes when I use this yarn because it's kind of short in yardage, as you can see. The other thing I want to mention is that I did use Lycra on these socks. I used Lycra to make them a little tighter for my husband, and it really changes the color in my opinion. So here's how it looks when it doesn't have Lycra, and you can see that it kind of heathers it a little bit. I'm not always that crazy about what Lycra does to the color of the sock fabric. The kind of Lycra that I've been using is this cobweb Lycra, and it is very stretchy. I just wanted to show the Lycra product. It comes on cones. It lasts forever. I think I got this from Erlbacher, but you can get it from CSM Supplies and probably a variety of other places. I think it's about, well, it's in the maybe the mid-20s now per cone. Comes in a couple of different colors. So I don't love cranking with Lycra. I feel it causes problems. It's easy to catch on needles. Finally, somebody pointed out that they liked how my sock transitioned from the 1x1 ribbing to the 5x1 ribbing, and it brought back a memory of how, when I was a hand knitter, there were resources available to try to get a neater looking transition. And I've forgotten a lot about my hand knitting experience, but I wanted to share how I did this, and I think it looks pretty good. How I did this is I did one is cast on with 2 out rows, 20 rows of 1x1 ribbing with Lycra in the yellow color, and then before I switched to the blue with a faux Russian join, I swapped out the needles to make 5x1. So essentially what I did is I cranked 1 row of 5x1 ribbing with the yellow, and then I did a faux Russian join for the blue. And I think it looks okay. A hand knitter really pays a lot of attention to how that transition is worked, and there are tricks up their sleeves about how to do it right. And I didn't end up doing any tricks. I just kind of lucked out on this, but I wanted to share how it happened. So enjoy the video. Thanks for watching. Hi, and welcome back to CSM Mistakes Were Made. I'm going to be cranking the second sock that goes with this sock that I just did for my husband. And these are bicycling socks. So he has a jersey that has these colors. And I thought it would be fun to make some socks for him. We'll get started. I'm the proud owner of one of these really cool lifting tools. It's made for people like me who just like gadgets, I guess. So you stick it in. There's a 72, a 64, and a 60. So you just grab this. I think I got it at, I think I got this at Erlbacher. And I don't remember how much it was, but I thought it looked kind of fun to have. All right, so we're getting set to cast on every other needle. And the yarn I'm using, I hope I discussed it in the intro, but it's a KnitPicks product, and it comes in 100-gram hanks. So I wound it onto my cones, and these are the two colors right here. All right, so we've got every other needle out. I'll get my cast on bonnet ready here. Got some white waste yarn. I think I missed a needle there, but we'll get it on the next time. Could I get it? No, I better not. I better not try. You don't want to put a ring on a needle that's on its way down, so I wasn't actually sure if I should add that. Anyway, we're good. That'll knit the next time. Put weights on. I like to wrap this little guy around here so I don't get a hole. Stopping my yarn carrier so that needle number 1 is about to close, and that's when I put in a single row of braided fishing line, 80-pound braided fishing line. This is ravel cord. It's a really good product for us crankers, because if you're a saver of waste yarn like I am, it helps save your waste yarn. You don't have to cut it away and it keeps getting shorter and shorter, and then you have to throw it away. All right, so we're at needle number 1. We'll start the project yarn. I did the cuff in this pretty kind of zesty lime. So zesty lime is going to be the cuff. I am using Lycra, and it makes me laugh that bike riders also use Lycra clothing. So I don't know, that just makes, there's a joke in there somewhere, but I can't find it, but it just makes me laugh to use Lycra for bicycling socks. All right, so we've got the needle number 1 has the project yarn. We're going to set the ribber in for a Juana's cast on. I just realized I forgot to put the Lycra in. So I was joking about it just now, but I didn't actually have it in the knitting, and it's okay. It'll be fine just like that. All right. Now I grab a bunch of short ribber needles to install them in the ribber dial. This is an equal slot ribber dial. We just grab the running yarn between the cylinder needles and grab it with the hook down and then flip it over so the hook is up. I've got other videos on Juana's cast on, which is what I'm doing, and I'll try to link those in the description. But that's what I'm doing, is a Juana's cast on. It's a 1x1 selvage, which is a very nice selvage. And I do 2 out rows with Juana's cast on, which are optional, but I like them. I think it gives a nice robust edge to the top of a sock. Okay, so I'm about halfway done. I don't need my counter yet. I'm good. I've got the Lycra in finally, so we'll crank around to expose the rest of these slots so that we can install all 36 of these rubber needles. Okay, we have all of these loaded, and okay, I don't need my counter yet, so I'm going to crank around to when this little pointy thing lands on the last rubber needle. That's the boundary that tells me now when I put everything out of work, the first needle affected will be the first cylinder needle. Excuse me, the first rubber needle. Two rounds of that, and then stop in the same landmark where this little pointy thing stops right over the last rubber needle. Put everything back in work, those tuck in, and then first needle affected is the first one past 3 o'clock. Okay, now I need to reset my counter and do 20 rows. If I remember correctly, I actually did the needle swap while this was still this yellow color. And then the color swap was on the next row around. So that's that. We'll crank forward a little bit, and then I'll find my scissors and snip to do a faux Russian join, about that much. Pull out the yellow, grab the blue. This was a 100-gram hank, as I mentioned, and I worried that I wouldn't have enough for the second sock. But I weighed it, and I think I'm going to be fine. Faux Russian join involves back feeding the yarn. As usual, I didn't leave myself very much, but I think this is going to be okay. And then that little loop that's left after you back feed it is where you can grab the new yarn. And that's good. I'm going to reset my counter because I need 70 rows. Okay. The Lycra is already in. Pretty good. Okay. 70 rows. Okay, 69 and 70. And the way I usually do my crew socks with this pattern of ribbing, 5x1 ribbing, is I crank to 12 so that I can swap out the needles that will be near the Achilles tendon and the ones that would be under the sole of the foot, which we definitely don't want for most socks. So I prepare my pre-heel by taking these needles out, thinking that I'll just leave the ones on the top of the foot in. But then I realized that these are bicycling socks from my husband, and I actually think it's probably best not to have any ribbing on the top of the foot either. So I decided that in light of the fact that I'm using Lycra and that these are cycling socks, I'm going to take them all out. Normally, if I knew that ahead of time, I would have stopped at 6 and then gone around. It's not a big deal, but because I originally thought that I was going to do ribbing on the top of the foot, I thought, well, I'll stop at 12 o'clock. Anyway, It's all to say this is all going to work out. I'm going to take all of the ribbon needles out. I'm going to start on the bottom of the foot and crank around to the top of the foot. I guess that says it. It is totally not a big deal to do it either way, but like I said, the first sock was sort of by the seat of my pants, and I made design decisions as I was going. So I'm trying to match this second sock to the eccentricities of the first sock. And it probably absolutely wouldn't matter. Okay, so I'm getting these in. That one's going to be hard. I'm going to have to wait on that one to get the ribber off of it. So as I said, I've got this. This would be a good preparation for a 10-row pre-heel, but I am going to take these all out too. Okay, I'm going to restart my counter because I want 10 rows of pre-heel. And yes, I realize I probably could just count from 70 to 80. But there is something satisfying about changing my bale counter. I had this antique bale counter that I put in. The Irene Hemmer's bale counter was perfect. It worked perfectly well. And but this one I had bought many years ago, before I bought Irene's counter, and it works well. It's just a little bit more vintage, I guess. Okay, so we are getting to the point where we can take the ribber off. That's good looking. 5 by 1. I'm going to make sure my 10-row pre-heel. Dropped a stitch. Oops, 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 oops. Okay, that stitch. Job 1. Get the weight off because, I don't know, in real time if you could see that thing was just running away. Okay, so we are at the part of the sock where I need to do 10 rows of stockinette pre-heel. And then we'll do a deep 2+ deep heel. Not a terribly deep heel, but +2 or 2+. I'll show how I do that. My counter is on. I'm going to do 10 rows for a pre-heel. Okay, 10 rows for a pre-heel. This is a 72 slot cylinder. Here are my halfway marks. I'm going to add 2 more needles in work, so it's a +2 deep heel. I'll need my heel spring. And last one on the right, last one on the left. Let's start the foot. And I used the heel spring on the first sock for the foot. I went back and forth about that. There's no ribbing on the top of the foot, and I want these to be a little snug, so we're going to try that. I'm going to reset my counter and take off with 78 rows. 78. I'm at 78. I've got my heel spring on. I need to lift half of the needles out of work. Forward toe. Last two together. I don't like to Kitchener with Lycra, so I cut the Lycra here. Okay, let's just try to get this done. Cut that extra Lycra out. And I'm going to use yellow because it's a little bit easier on my eyes with respect to the whitish silvery Lycra. So I'll be able to certainly tell it from the blue, but also be able to see Lycra if I need to. All right, let's check all of these latches. That looks good. There's the heel, there's the foot, there's where I'll be Kitchenering. I sure hope these shrink, because I don't think these are going to fit my husband as they're knitted. I made them purposely big because of the Lycra. So he said he didn't want them too long, so these will be a kind of a crew sock length. And I'll come back when I've Kitchenered the end, block them.